This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Ann-Marie Andrich, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR. Hello, Katarina.
Hi, Ann-Marie.
Yet another windy day in Stockholm.
Yes, but I think that is the rooftop, right? The effect of being on top of the city. It's windy.
It's windy, definitely. I'm curious to learn about, and maybe some listeners are also curious to learn about this, to learn about how it is to work in a company that is in hypergrowth and has been in hypergrowth for quite some time, as you have been in Spotify. So, first reflections, when I say hypergrowth, what are your spontaneous reactions then?
I think hypergrowth, you have to define what that is yourself, but it's obviously when you grow with more than 100% year by year, and even more so, right? So if you're adding more people than you already are, that will be, first of all, a challenge, more like the hair and keeping that straight. So that would be a challenge. The second thing is, you're looking for the right, it's not just getting the numbers and the warm bodies in, you're looking for the right talent. The second thing is you have to choose a philosophy of how you're going to do that. You have to have a proper kind of process that does that. Your HR tech should really work for that, so it doesn't break down, or that will not be the blocker of you being successful. And then there are a couple of other things, obviously, the way that you cast your net, where you cast it, if you're going to be internal or external, a TA team, all those kind of bits and pieces that will help you succeed of doing that. And then 1 year, we usually say 1 year doesn't make it a summer, or one flower doesn't make a summer. But the thing is, these things, since they are moving, and when you find the people and you bring them in, it doesn't stop with the talent acquisition either. I would almost challenge that and say that the onboarding is even trickier than finding the right people. And then you have the third piece, right? If you don't retain these people, you need to keep bringing people in even faster. So you can't just be good at finding or scouting or having really healthy pipelines. It has to be, within and out. How do you do that at the same time as you really need to double down on how do we find our talent, and how do we screen them, how do we recruit them, how do we sign them, and how do we onboard them?
So Katarina, you joined Spotify, was it 8 years ago?
Yes, almost.
How many were you then?
800 people.
And today, 8 years later, you are?
7,000-ish. Plus, yeah, a bit more.
That's a profound growth.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so when you joined the company then 8 years ago, and you were looking at, okay, I'm obviously here for the growth and to develop the company. How did you think about talent acquisition at that point 8 years ago? What was in your mind?
Yeah, in many ways, I think we kept to the model because Spotify had already decided that they would have talent acquisition team internally, right? So it's an internal affair.
Yes.
And obviously, when you are growing from 800, it's a different story, and your needs are different, and the team was much smaller. And then you have to, both with the TA team, but also with hiring manager, you have to find a stakeholder management kind of thing that works out really well. And also the workforce planning and the workforce planning management. And when I joined, that did not really work at all. And I'm not saying that we are crushing it now and we know that everything works like really fluid and seamless. It doesn't, because this is really, really heavy lifting every day, especially for the TA team, but for all the hiring managers as well, but also for all the colleagues that will be part of onboarding all these people. So I think we kind of acing it our way, but I also saying that, that is so much we can improve all the time, which is just strange, because it is one of those creatures that is every time we think we got it and crack the code, we need to do something else. And I think this is where it gets really, really interesting too. I think a lot of people and head of TAs or even recruiters, they might be super good for a specific phase of this development. And then you might need to shift the team a bit and maybe also shift the leadership a bit. And I think, you've been into this game for a long time too, but we have a lot of chosen truth at HR. A couple of things where this is the way you do it. And I think a lot of people refer to TA especially to being, these are the specific salespeople within HR. Or you could even hear people say that this is the assembly line. You either do recruitment good or bad, right? You do it with dignified or not. You do it with respect or not. But it's kind of the same thing, and it has a process and it needs to follow that. I dare to argue that that is not necessarily correct. I think you can do hiring and recruitment a bit different. And I think there's new ways of doing that too. And that is what we do in, I think, now, I think we have the third or fourth version during these 8 years of the way we do. And we need to, because the pressure is getting bigger and bigger. We bring bigger and bigger numbers in every month. And also we get more and more, applications every month over the years, because the brand and the employer brand is getting more known and well known, and for good reasons for us at least, more and more attractive too.
We know, lucky you, well done. So, and on that topic, how many, just for the listeners, how many applications, spontaneous applications do you get every month?
So we just launched earlier this year the Work from Anywhere program, right? Mm-hmm. And before that, we had close to 55,000 applications a month, and that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Especially
spontaneous.
Yeah. Especially if you want to read all of them, very closely and give everybody a chance. You need to have a way of doing that, right? So you don't miss out, or somebody read that when you had a tired day or anything like that. And then we launched the program, and now it's close to 80. It's 79,000 something. So obviously people liking, and it's not just good to have big numbers, because it takes a lot of admin, it takes a lot of time. It's hard work for both the people that are looking for new people into their organization, but also for my team's sake. So you have to be smart about it. And if the 79 is not the people that could actually end up having a job, it doesn't make sense. So you can go wide and broad and shout out from the mountains that, we have a lot of people applying for us. If they're not the right people, they're taking away focus. And that is the cost. It also slows you down. You want to make sure that you can communicate in a way that the people that actually is a good match for all the jobs that are out there and open every month, that they are the ones. And then you also want to be clear about who you are as a company, what direction, what your values are. So the people that would be either disappointed or, think that it would be something else, that they, even if they're super smart, really good and could do a good job, if the match is not there when it comes to what they are expecting. And then on the same time, we've been very clear since, I think, 7 years that we're looking for a culture add-on, not a culture match, right? Or which means that, yes, how do we make sure that we are not looking for the same, which is a very, very, very typical bias that we all are programmed with. And how do we make sure that whatever we see that is more of the same is not what's entering, the revolving doors, or if we don't talk about an office, entering the organization from wherever you decide to work. So these are the things that you have to be a bit smart, and you have to think and pressure test over and over again.
So if I were to apply for a job at Spotify, what would the candidate experience be if you were to describe it high level?
If I'm going to be honest, I think, what would you expect and what would you then experience? I don't think necessarily very good, not in the way that we put our standards and where we want to be. Because if you have 79,000 people applying for close to 150 open jobs every month, anybody can understand that the things that a candidate usually do is like, can I ping somebody? Can I email somebody? Can I call somebody? I found a couple of people that works for Spotify on LinkedIn. I trying to pick them. And we have learned the hard way that if we open different channels or we take these meetings that are like, let's just have a lunch or let's go for a walk and talk and let's see if we can add really good people to the bank of candidates, that will hurt us so badly because the pressure of all the people applying and also the fairness will then maybe go out the window. So the candidate experience might be a bit slow, and then where we should be over-indexing on communication, what's happening now, what's next and all that, I think we are trying to be good. And what we hear, and since we do the surveys with the people applying, we're doing okay. We're even doing good or even great by several people, and not just the people that actually got the job.
Right.
But if I sit down with John Single, that is our head of talent, and we discuss that, and he talks with his team, that is not what we set the bar and where we want to be. We know that it's so hard, and it's not just for TA. It's so hard to stop doing stupid things to people and your customers, right? And when it comes to the candidate experience, we can improve so much. But we're just asking people to understand where we are, which is a good place. So we're not like, oh, feel sorry for us. But it is actually a lot to handle.
Yeah, of course. I mean, 80,000 spontaneous applications, right? It's quite a lot, of course. How big is the TA team today?
It's close. I usually say they are 100, but there is also some flexibilities into that. So depending on what the year looks like and how many people. So it all goes back, you know, it's like putting the train on the station where you want to be workforce planning wise, right? Yes. And then, okay, calculate how many people do we need to be. What has helped us a lot is because we've been in this hypergrowth for a long time and we foresee that we will be for at least a couple of more years, means that it's not like we are down to 20 one year and then up to 120 the other year. But there are a couple of things that we can, because people want to have different type of contracts too with us. So I would say 100 plus people with the pressure we have now on bringing people in. But also knowing that 2022 will be a big year for us when it comes to acquire new and really, really cool talent. I'm guessing that team will grow a bit too.
Right. And how big is the HR department in total then? Just
if we talk about HR, the 171 colors of the palette managing team, I would say then you add 183 people to those 100, so 283 people.
Okay. Good. And final question then on this very interesting topic. I would assume that you have like an internal marketplace for, you know, people already at Spotify wanting to switch jobs. Is the talent acquisition team also supporting that sort of internal mobility, or how does that work?
Both yes and no. So here is also an area where I think we can improve a lot. So we believe in homegrown, and that has been a philosophy from the get-go.
Homegrown.
Yeah. So homegrown talent, which is very, very important. But if you would ask people internally, I would say that they would say it's not that easy to get promoted. If we go into the data and also look at the numbers, how many people that actually switch roles with internally, no matter if it's the typical ladder or if it's like more like the monkey bar, it looks good, and right? But perception is actually the truth for a lot of people. The way that you perceive it, or how hard it is, or not really knowing how to do that. So here I think we can be clearer. So we've been working on something that we called Wayfinder when we work with it, and now when we're going to launch it, it's called Echo. And it's all about that kind of two-faced, two-sided marketplace, where when we talk about it as a company, we talk about the creators, right, and the listeners. When we talk about it as a workplace, we talk about the employees and the company needs. And how can we make that much clearer, no matter if it's a very strategic project or if it's a new role? And how do we make sure that is very open and very transparent, and then also creates internal mobility? And back to you, like your main question there, how much is the talent acquisition team playing part of that? They are not necessarily so much as the HR BPs because it's also very entwined into the succession planning and the talent mapping, right?
Exactly.
So I would say the HR insights team, which is people analytics in most companies, are very much involved in that going forward. The learning and development team that is called Greenhouse is very much involved in that. All the HR BPs are involved in that. Most of all the management teams, right? The executives are involved in that. And then the talent acquisition team. So it's a combination and then there is a system that supports us.
Of course. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy growing.
Thank you very much. And we need to grow.
You need to grow.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So, closing it
Yes.
with the 3 things.
It's going to be a hashtag stay safe, stay strong, stay active.
Idé medalje.
Såg ut som du hade en hundvalp eller någonting.
Ja, vad härligt. Okej. I don't know where that came from. Men gud, förlåt. Jättebra.
Are you okay?
Men gud, vad hände? Åh, vänta lite. Det är inte skönt.
Nej.
Jag fick in luft tror jag.
Jag såg den här blicken.
Okej. Det är corona.
Nobody saw that. As long as it's you drinking my water, I'm fine.
Nu ska vi se om jag har någon röst tillbaka.
La 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 la.
Är du redo?
Ja, jag är redo.
Okej. Ja. Okej, igen. Så Katarina, nej men sluta.
Förlåt. Jag drar upp byxorna lite. Men du såg så himla allvarlig ut till plötsligt.
Ja, men
here we go.
jag försöker skärpa mig här då. En liten sipp bara. So Katarina, you joined Spotify.